Wow. Great to see everyone. Different perspective from up here. So before I start, just by show of hands, it'd be great to know who I'm talking to. So, engineers in the room, engineering companies, things like that, construction companies, technology companies, students. Yay for students. And other, if I didn't mention you yet, anyone else? Okay, good. So that's a great representation. Brandon mentioned that I've had 48 hours to get accustomed to the idea of doing this morning. So be kind, please. So as Brandon mentioned, Debbie Baxter, I'm from EY Parthenon. We have a housing center of excellence, and we work with many companies across the private and public sector focused on housing outcomes. Some of you in the room are probably clients of ours. So I would start. Thank you for my co-panelists. Great opening presentations to get us thinking about some of the context that we're all operating in. I think what Brandon asked me to do was sort of set the stage on the national perspective. And so I'm going to cover 3 topics with you this morning in my remarks. The first would be the real estate market. What's actually going on here in Canada. And so I did not have time to sync my numbers with my co-presenters. So you'll probably get another version of some of the numbers, but that's great. So the understatement of the day, we're in a housing crisis in Canada, and it's been 20 years in the making. And, the lots of well-intentioned decisions throughout that time have brought us to this place where we've got sort of a tale of two realities. We've got an accumulation of generational wealth on one hand, and we've got folks that can't get into the market. And that dichotomy is creating this crisis for us currently. To end homelessness and fulfill the right to adequate housing, Canada needs at least 4.4 million affordable homes, including 3 million deeply affordable for very low and low income households, and 1.4 million for moderate and medium income households. Our housing industry has typically stood up about 180,000 homes per year. So big gap. And I think some of the context here about homeownership is really the challenge for what I like to refer to as the missing middle. And, for some people, the missing middle is that building archetype. I think of it as a population of people. And it's the bus drivers and nurses and personal support workers and many others who cannot get the math to work between the price of housing and their income earning capability. This gap can also be seen with some of our social housing, so student, senior, etc. And there's now no major city in Canada where a sole full-time minimum wage earner can afford an average one-bedroom apartment. And few cities where 2 minimum wage earners can afford an average 2-bedroom apartment. In Vancouver, the average asking price for a 2-bedroom apartment is $3,100 a month. So twice what a medium income household can afford, and well over 4 times what a low income family can afford. So when we think about supply and demand, and with all respect to the economist in the room, assuming there's just one, I think sometimes we think of it as a unit, as a loaf of bread. So we have a supply problem. We need more loaves of bread, but it's not one thing. It's actually a variety of archetypes and price points of homes that are required for society to advance. So, to quote a friend, Carolyn Weitzman from the U of T School of Cities, we need $400 a month occupancy cost options. We need $800 a month occupancy options, $1,200 a month to support different segments of society that are or under. And these numbers are not even close to the rents, mortgage payments that can make projects pencil in our major centers. According to, however, to perhaps put some shine on that perspective, according to our friends at Urban Nation, their research in September, the current weakening in the condo space and the recent awakening of rental supply presents much more on with my microphone. I'm sorry. It's the beginning of a significant realignment of the structure of the market, mainly in centers such as Toronto and Vancouver. So they're seeing a bit of a change. And the relevance for us today, focused on industrialized construction in the room, is that where the condo market and the rental supply leads, the rest of the market will follow, driving consumer confidence and leading to increased new home starts. So, the market challenging, but there's some optimism coming through in some of the recent numbers. My second topic this morning is Build Canada Homes, so the new federal agency tasked with solving this crisis. And no small task. And BCH has committed to $13 billion of investment with a focus on modular. Yay, that's great. That's great for the people in this room. Large programs greater than 1,000 units, I also think that's great, because the onesies and twosies and sevensies and 12sies from the last 20 years are not going to get us to bridge the gap. So larger projects will be their focus, and largely focused on affordable. Now, they've also announced a new CEO. They've announced the 6 cities where their first programs will occur: Toronto, Longueuil, Edmonton, Dartmouth, Ottawa, Winnipeg. Those are great places. I'm not sure what's going to happen with the rest of Canada outside those 6 cities, but I'm sure they'll tell us eventually. And this week announced the new project in Downsview as the first Toronto site. I think many of you are probably interested in that site. We're waiting for the RFP so that we can see what the details will be. Lots of, everyone has sort of inhaled on that, and we're all waiting to exhale. But I think you can see that more details are required to really provide market direction for the businesses that you're running. We need to understand what some of the clarification points will be. And, is affordable really attainable? Is that really, a better definition of what they want this program to focus on? Or is it strictly the social end of the spectrum? So I think some of that clarity will be coming, I'm confident. When we think about non-market, there are really 3 main non-market actors in Canada. Public housing provided by government and all forms of government, including First Nation, Métis, and Inuit. And that represents about 2/3 of the current non-market stock. Non-profit community housing provided by charities, other social purpose organizations, that's about 20% of the non-market stock. And nonprofit cooperatives represent about 15%. So, is the intention of BCH to increase this inventory, to put, more of that into the system? And I think that's still a question. I think we're not clear on where and how they're going to, bring affordable to life with their programs. There are clues in the original Liberal campaign platform that reference the Wartime Housing Act, prompted by the immediate need to provide housing for thousands of workers entering cities for wartime industry back in 1941. The government created a Crown agency at that time to take on that task. Sounds similar to the situation that we're in today. At the time, they enabled standardized designs. Prefab was a big part of that. 600 square feet, no basement. The government took over a portion of the supply chain by feeding orders to build these homes. They used federal land in a lot of cases. Many elements, again, that sound very familiar to the program that we're anticipating is coming today. And, this concept led to the construction of those initial 40,000 homes, but ultimately many, many more. That format, that built form archetype, there are many of those houses across Ontario and literally across Canada. I grew up in a wartime house in southeastern Ontario. So, Build Canada Homes, sort of more to come, optimistic, but more to come. So what's my third topic? What does this mean for us today? The movers and shakers in the industrialized construction industry that are assembled here this morning. The first insight I would share is that the Prime Minister committed to 500,000 new homes per year to bridge the gap. And, when we start to sort of break down those numbers, we routinely make 200-ish. Then, we need to start 300,000 a year more until we bridge the gap, until we catch up. And so, that would suggest that now is a great time to be in this industry. There's a lot of projects coming. So, congratulations, because I think the time is now, and you're well positioned to bring some of the advantages of industrialized construction to this problem. The lower cost, lower hard cost, more speed, increased speed. And there is an urgency to this problem that I think you've heard from all three of our speakers this morning, including me. So, the second insight might be that as we think about these larger projects, 1,000 units is a lot of units for a not-for-profit. And, I do have an example from Halifax that I would quickly share. So another friend of mine, Mia, she's the CEO of the YWCA in Halifax. And she just opened the first phase of a development that she pulled together with other not-for-profit leaders. So essentially, Mia led this transaction. She stacked up the requirements from all of the not-for-profits, similar desired outcomes, social housing for seniors, transitional housing, et cetera, and 388 units, I think, from memory. And so she was able to get funding from CMHC, from the province, with participation from Halifax as well, and was able to pull the deal together. So I'd refer to that as bundling of requirements. And, I think that's another insight we're going to see. So if Build Canada Homes is looking for larger, affordable programs, that largely means that, some players in the market are going to need to do bundling to sort of pull them together. And Mia's project was, of course, pre-Build Canada Homes because its first phase is open. So the third and final, insight, it's a little bit more of a question, might be, how can the modular industry scale? And I think we're going to talk about some of that more in our panel with some great questions that Brandon's put together. But, just to maybe set the stage for that, as we think about the demands of government that we've been talking about, there are some real issues with shortages of labor, scarce capital for investment, and new expertise that's required. So, one of the encouraging things that I would share with you is that we're not doing this for the very first time. There are other countries that have done this for years. And while I think we would all say that it's important to have a made in Canada solution, there are other examples that we can learn from. So in Sweden, for example, 70 to 80% of their homes are, modular or industrialized construction. And, there's likely to be insights there that we can gather that will help us to scale and to move quickly to respond to these challenges. The other, sort of inspiring thought that I think is important is that non-market housing is often used as a counter-cyclical economic stimulus during a downturn. And if any of you listen to CNBC and CNN and I don't know, Fox News maybe, but the the predictions of economic turmoil, shall we call it, continue. And so, that may actually fuel some of the fire towards non-market housing outcomes, aligned and supported by Build Canada homes that need to include a modular or industrialized construction element. Perhaps I would leave my remarks there for the moment. I would leave you with sort of one thought to frame the day. The business process of the last 2 decades is not the key to success for the next 10 years. So I encourage you all to be innovative and to think differently in order to advance some of these solutions to the current societal problems that we're all trying to solve together. Thank you.